Tonight, Paul's been waiting patiently, and I want to introduce, everybody knows, our Paul Preston. Paul Preston, would you do us the honor, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, so how many of you are going to vote for Hillary? Hey! There you go. That's disappointing. Even the notion of something like that. Anyway, it's kind of interesting. First of all, do you have any questions? This is the time you can ask me questions, and I can give you about the most honest answers that possibly anybody could do at this point in time. Who knows? Yes, sir. Matt?
Paul, you told us a while back that Trump's going to carry California still
No. No, actually, it's kind of interesting. If he had paid any kind of attention to California, that may have been a different picture. But he didn't. And I don't fault him for that, because of what's going on. But I think we're going to be surprised at California. And I do know that we were very surprised at what happened on June 7th with Bernie Sanders and the results that we had from Katie Grimes, who did the actual research and followed up on all the voting that took place, and found out that Bernie Sanders actually did beat Hillary Rodham Clinton by a large number. All the Democrats were given provisional ballots, and the ballots were never counted as an end result. So that's how they stole the election. Now that spills into another thing, and you may have been, how many have seen my Facebook? We put up a Facebook article yesterday that kind of went viral around the nation. And that was dealing with voter fraud, voter intimidation. Anybody see that? Nobody in this room saw that. Anyway, it was a situation. I got a call late last night, late Saturday night. The days are kind of blurring together. I don't know why that would be. Is this Monday? Anyway, I got a call from my super double secret probation people, and they said you need to be on the lookout for this, and then federal marshals will be going into various polling places in 3 particular states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida. And they have actually deputized other federal agents to go along with them. And this was a movement. Listen to this. This is kind of interesting. Talk about the palace coup. This was a group of federal agents that did this without the president's authority or authorization. And it's very interesting. Someday, 10 years from now, when I can talk about it, I'll kind of let you in on the real secrets about this whole thing, because I've been kind of sworn to some secrecy. Just part of the things that we do. But it's an amazing set of circumstances. And what was very, very interesting is that I think it was the Secretary of State for Ohio today came out and said, hey, we're perfectly legal. There's no fraud, voter fraud in our state at all. Because, as I understand, some of these federal agents just all of a sudden popped up in some of the polling places. It was reported to me, and we put it out on Facebook, that actually a gun was taken out of a holster of a federal agent at one point. And the 3 states that they were focusing on was Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida. So there was a need for an officer to take his gun out and point it at someone as an act of enforcement. Yeah, it got to that. And I don't know what the state is. I didn't ask any questions. It's about kind of a blur and all this stuff that's coming in. So there's a lot of things going on that's happening out there. There are a lot of people that are sworn officers that are trying to protect us from the administration, the administration seems to be the enemy, which we've all known, especially when it comes to voter fraud and voter intimidation. Loss of the 10th Amendment rights, just to kind of bring you up to date on that one. You've probably heard that Jay Johnson has been pushing to take over all the election procedures as a caution, because he's afraid that the Russians have taken over or will be hacking the results of any election proceedings. And of course, that's just not the case. For those of you, how many of you are really familiar with computers and how that all works with programming and things like that? Let me tell you a little secret about this story that the administration has gotten out there, the narrative. because this is something that's one of the, everything they're doing is lying to you. They're just lying, bold-faced lying. I've never seen this degree, I'm sure you never have either. But everything they do is a lie. Every single thing is about this polling and about this, all this stuff about the Russian hackers and all that stuff. Now, I used to be a school superintendent. I used to work with high school kids. I used to work with kids that were involved with computer programming. And if you've ever seen a junior or senior high school kid working in a laboratory that is, you know, where they do computer programming and things like that, there's always that little nugget of kids that are just so much better than the rest, and they know how to get into systems. And they're really, really good at it. And it used to drive me nuts because, you know, all of a sudden, oh, Mr. Preston, Paul, there's some problems with a whole bunch of grades for all these teachers. We don't know how they got changed. I said, well, the kids did, stupid. I mean, come on. So, but my point is this, is that you have some really brilliant American high school students that are just as good as the Russian hackers. And they're just as good as in fact, they're better than the NSA hackers. These NSA hackers look at the high school kids and go, how did you do that? Can you tell me? They go to these hacker meetings and stuff like that. So, you know, when I sit there and I listen to this administration tell us that it's the Russian hackers doing this, it's a bald-faced lie. It's a complete lie. So, you know, I'm not trying to support Putin or anything like that. I'm just saying this is part of the lie that they're trying to tell. And this whole notion that we can't control, the way that our election system is set up, it's very diffuse. And it's designed that way purposely so that you won't have a central control over it. Hello, that's the way our government's supposed to work. Complete opposite of central control, communist-style governance, which is what we have here in California. So, I mean, this is the thing that's out there. All the narratives that you're hearing coming from them right now, in my opinion, are complete lies about Putin, about all that stuff. They do have a problem. I'm going to tell you about this, and I can't tell you too much, but I will tell you this. You've probably noticed that when you talk to, when you look at the Clinton campaign and all the things that go along with them, or even the Obama administration, there seems to be a little bit of disarray going on in terms of communications amongst them that you don't see on the Donald Trump side. Have you ever noticed that? Everything, do you hear any WikiLeaks coming out about Donald Trump? No. Do you hear anything negative coming out in the cyber world about Donald Trump? Yeah. Or in the communications world, other than the things that they make up with Hillary, right? There's a reason for that. And I know the reason. And I'm not telling you. No, there is a reason for that, and it's got them in fits over there. And I was talking to somebody about the reason, and I cannot tell you, we kind of sworn not to do this, but we're just howling because everything that they're doing, they're totally befuddled about because it's not happening over here. And when something does come up over here, the Trump people always seem to know about it. What's up with that? Well, I think they're working on that one. Okay, so how many of you are Jim Comey fans?
None.
Come on, FBI director? No. Bought and paid for, right? Jenny's giving him the thumb down back there, so it's definitely, this is not Comey territory. Let me tell you a little bit about Jim Comey so you know, and I've been saying this about on the radio show about Jim Comey for quite some time. He's completely corrupted. He's been working for the Clintons and the Clinton administration for years, since the early 90s. Hello. He was working at United Bank, HSBC, before he became the FBI director. But before that, he took on a case that I know about because it affected a personal relative. And that's the Sandy Burglar event. Remember that? No, I'm sorry, Sandy Burger, right? Burglar. Why would I call him burglar? Because in 2004, he was caught in the National Archives taking papers from the National Archives and putting them in his underwear, in his socks. That's a bad visual. It's a real bad visual. Have you ever seen Sandy Burglar? He looks like a burglar. But anyway, the reason why I know all about this is because a very close relative of mine was directly involved in it. And I got to read all the emails. And I'm privy to it. I can tell you right now, I am going to tell you, that it was all dealing with Bill Clinton's inability to deal with Osama bin Laden, and how he has great deals of responsibility with the facts and the figures that were brought out there in these notes for 9/11. And he stole those documents out of the National Archives in 2004. And who was there to get him off, or a lenient, he pled guilty to petty theft or something like that. And who was there to walk him through that? Jim Comey. That was his attorney. Are you starting to see some things here? Okay, so we fast forward to 2007, 2008, 2009, and all of a sudden he appears at Hong Kong Singapore Bank, HSBC, working with United Bank of Switzerland. Now, some of you might remember that when I say that, I mentioned these two banks in particular, and all of a sudden you might think, oh, Scott Bennett comes up. Scott Bennett, who's the guy who identified, he and Brian Birkenfeld, identified, and because that was their job, was to seek out sources of terror financing. That was their job, to work with the Bush administration, then the Obama administration, and once they got so close, Eric Holder threw them in jail. Because they found out that it was an administration, the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton, working with the State Department, were actually setting up these funding sources through HSBC and USB, UBS, United Bank of Switzerland, and they were forming ISIS. That's why Trump refers to them as the founders of ISIS. Get it? Who was on the board making sure those funds were going to ISIS and the terror groups? Jim Comey. Get it? And oh, by the way, after facilitating that, he, as a good, quote, Republican, sure he is. Everybody loved him, the Bush administration loved him, everybody loved Jim Comey. ISIS really liked Jim Comey. So Jim Comey then goes to where? The FBI. Yes, sir.
You know what? I'm reading an article, one of your mentioning this, because Donald Trump says, excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen, he says there's no day in hell that guy could have read, I don't know what it was, like 800 and some emails in one day. He said
650,000. Who's counting? Yeah, that's all. That's all part of the scam. You see, one of the things they're trying to do, guys, and we need to get a grip on this collectively, is this need that they have to bring about lawlessness and a lack of faith in our Constitution, a lack of faith in how we govern ourselves. And I'm here to tell you, that is something that we desperately need to resist. That is what they're pushing. Jerry Brown is pushing it here in California. The whole breakdown of our system, of a constitutional system, is what they want. And you can kind of see it. To me, it's just obvious as all get out. That's why we do the Liberty Tour, to celebrate the Constitution. To make people aware of the Constitution. And to stand by the Constitution. This is what I tell everybody on the radio show. There's going to be a time when it's lawlessness. And right now is that time. We need to be lawful. Period. End of subject. They hate us being lawful. In fact, they really don't like tea parties, right? We know that. Which brings me to this revelation about tea parties. The tea parties have worked, and worked very well, against the tyranny of the left right now. You might not realize it. You might sit in this room and say, well, it's not packed. There's not a lot of people. The fact you're here as Americans representing America, representing the Constitution, standing up for the Constitution, you are a force that they have to deal with. I don't care how old you are. You are winning the game. They take you very seriously, and they've got multi-billionaire George Soros, who's out actively trying to destroy tea parties. This has been going on for a long time. 2010 articles from the Tea Party and so on. You can go back and check on my website or go back to the Tea Party Patriots website and you can see the articles listing George Soros and his nonprofit organizations spending money deliberately bringing in people that will infiltrate the Tea Parties and end up destroying them. This has been going on for a long time. That's because of such a big threat that the Tea Parties represent. Can you imagine that? Look at us. We're the biggest threats. Think about that. And by the way, you're all domestic terrorists, right? Where's that gun when you need it?
The floorboard.
We walked around here with a gun, but I'm serious. Because we represent institutional knowledge. And one of the things that the left always does is destroy institutional knowledge. You are the knowledge base. You are those data bits that know about the lifestyle that we've had, the country that we are, and the Constitution that guides us. And by the way, you're probably Christians too, so just throw that in there. That's the problem. They want to wipe out the institutional knowledge to create chaos. You used to see this in high schools all the time. Yes, sir. The second coup? Not much. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. I know nothing. I know nothing. Yes, sir.
What has become of the FBI agent revolution against the solitary?
It's still going on. The situation with the pedophilia ring and all that stuff. Okay, that's really a real deal, and there's no kids in here, are there? And I got to tell you my background in it, so you understand where I come from. When I was a school administrator, learning to become a school administrator in the mid-'80s, I was trained by the LA PD Crimes Against Children's Task Force. 40 hours of intensive training in pedophilia and child molestation. I live with that every day. And I got to tell you, I live with the memory of the pictures that I saw, and then going on professionally and working in those situations. And that part of what this degradation that we're seeing with the Clintons and everything else is a real part. It's a big part. And the New York PD and the New York FBI are not going to let go with the Anthony Weiner thing. But I got to tell you, it's very disturbing. It's all of this, when you start looking at what they've got, is incredibly disturbing. And it's hard to deal with. It really is. But we cannot turn away from it, and that's what they want us to do. They want us to get into denial. When you get into these child molestation, pedophilia things, the whole denial wall goes up. Communities wall up. I've seen whole school districts wall up and protect the child molester, believe it or not, because they don't want to deal with the fact of what really happened, the reality checks that went on. And there's a whole bunch of things you're starting to maybe pick up on. Alex Jones actually has a couple of stories that are out there, very, very good. Pedophiles and child molesters work on cueing as a technique to determine who a victim is going to be. And Alex Jones has just got some stuff out there recently that's pretty good stuff. A cue as an example, if you happen to have seen Anthony Weiner's picture with his child, 5-month-old baby, and I won't give you the description. It's illegal to print that, by the way. And somebody transmits the felony because it was a pedophilic picture. And a pedophilic picture is a certain type of picture that shows certain things happening, and Anthony Weiner was showing that. And that's why that picture was out there. It appeared on the New York Post. People started calling right away when they saw it in the New York Post because people are trained, they understand that's illegal to post that on the Post. So they took it down. You won't find it really on a lot of internet sites now anymore, thank goodness. But that was an invitation for other pedophiles to join him in a sex ring. or for just to, put the feeler out there basically, are there others out there that I can meet up with? And this thing goes into Jerry Sandusky. Remember hearing about Jerry Sandusky and all that stuff? There weren't a lot of details that were really brought out in that publicly because the media was trying to squelch it, because the media is part of the problem. These mainstream media people out there were finding out, this is a pretty interesting tidbit, that we're finding out that the major media moguls, the people that own all these large media companies, are deep into the pedophilia, child molestation rings. So does that make a lot of sense to you now in terms of how they're treating Trump? Well, you see, he's not into that sort of thing, and the people might say that he was, or whether they try to put him in compromise. He's smart enough to figure out they tried to put him in compromising situations way back in the day. But yeah, it's a different world now. We're about to become a very different world when all these revelations start to come out. But I got to tell you, I think we need to have it happen, because we will be a better world, and it's not going to be our people that are going to be affected as much as it's going to be the totalitarians. I'll give you an example. One of the things we are investigating right now at Agenda 21 Radio is this whole Uranium One thing, how Hillary Clinton brokered that with Harney County. You know where the Bundys are? That whole thing? Okay, see, it's all connected. Well, there was money that was paid, but we're also finding out that there was a possibility, strong possibility, and this is where we're investigating it, that there were also boys that were used as payment to the Clintons. Boys, young white boys, as payment. Collateral. This is done all the time in Muslim countries. This is the kind of stuff you're dealing with. So, I mean, it's revolting. I still am very affected by what I learned years ago. And when I have to deal with it, it's like, gotta gear up, But I guess if I can help you guys gear up for this, we have to find out about it and expose it. Oh yeah. Oh no, listen. The whole notion about that picture, and I want to tell you this was the training that I got. I'm going to train you. The training I got from the woman who was giving us the lessons from the LAPD, a detective. And by the way, the LAPD Crimes Against Children's Task Force was established because of the large pedophilia rings in Hollywood. That's why those officers put it all together. There's about 10 of them. And boy, did they get themselves in a lot of legal problems and other troubles because they were doing the training to everybody in Southern California at the time. But, what was I going to say? Oh, what was I going to say? About okay, the picture. This is the lesson that this girl taught. This is one, there's several things she taught, but one of them are just key to ever identifying. How many of you are mandated reporters for child abuse or elder abuse? Raise your hand. Okay, you know that if you see it, you have to report it. Period, end of subject. Right? I used to make all my teachers sign contracts and all that other stuff. You have to sign that. Now, in law enforcement with pedophilia, it works like this. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. And because pedophilia concerns itself with 0 to 7 years old, those are a special category of child. And you have to act immediately whenever you see a cue, or you see an invitation like what happened with Anthony Weiner. And that's what happened with the New York PD and the FBI. They saw that picture and they acted immediately. They saw smoke and there was fire. It's almost 100% in every case of pedophilia that we see that when there's a perp. Almost every case. That's why they emphasize so much, when you see the smoke, there is fire. Act on it. Take a procedure and act on it. So this is a whole new ball game. And we're just learning about it. People are starting to come out about it with Hillary and Bill. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other people named, congressmen, senators. It goes on and on. And the threat that was being made and held over by the FBI, the Justice Department, Loretta Lynch, you can't forget Loretta. Right, Well, no, they said that they will bring down, if this happens, if this revelation comes out, and this was the discussion over the weekend when this whole thing came down, and I was in and out of discussions and stuff, but they were saying that they will bring down the entire economic system of the globe if this all comes out. All these global elitists or the one world order folks, the Rothschild, all these people, because they're all involved. Well, I mean, you know, I said bring them down, but nobody's gonna listen to me. So anyway, that's what's happening. That's the latest. But listen, tomorrow, go vote. Don't be sorry. Don't be upset. Vote. That's Obama. Go vote. Go vote. Oh, God.
People, go vote.
Yeah, that's right. And vote early and vote off. No, I'm sorry. That's the Democrats. That's not us. That's not us. But the other thing I want to bring up to you, because this works. It worked in Texas. And are you waiving those tickets for a reason? Okay, in a second. When you go to vote, make sure you take out your ID and show them your ID.
I did.
Then what you do is get your ballot, vote, get your receipt. Go back the next day or two and make sure your ballot was counted with your vote on it. We found that we started talking about this on the radio about a month and a half ago when Katie Grimes and Megan Barth were out there talking about the California thing, and Katie Grimes said, you've got to do this and tell your listeners what I just told you. It worked in Texas 2 weeks ago. You may have heard about this. They went in, people were going in with the picture, they would vote with the receipt, they would check the vote, and it was always for Clinton. Over 8,000 ballots had to be destroyed. People caught them in Texas doing that. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Go on the net? That's not the answer that you should get. The answer is you show me the ballot. I mean, I'm sorry about that. Poor Dottie. So you never got a receipt for your ballot that matched the ballot? You still have a receipt, though. You have something? They didn't give you anything?
The rip-off at the top.
So you turned it over to them? Okay, well, that's not the procedure I'm talking about. I mean, this is at the ballot. I understand, and I don't understand that whole situation. I will call tomorrow and find out, but I don't understand what you just explained to me, how that happened. Okay, so you have to mail it. That's different. Okay, yes. They still do. Right. They give you a receipt for it. And it matches the ballot. The numbers there should match the ballot. Which didn't happen with Dottie. Because she had an absentee ballot and dropped it in. So, Adrian, speak up. Here, Dottie, listen. Go ahead.
There is a tear-off part on that absentee ballot that has the numbers
At the top.
one to the other. Okay, and you're supposed to tear it off before you put that ballot into the envelope. Well, you better make sure next time what you get.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear you, Dor.
She did not have a tear-off portion of the absentee ballot for her to keep as a record.
The number. Yeah, we'll have to check into that. I mean, that's all I can say, and I know it's late and all that stuff, and we have to go, and everybody wants to go to Applebee's and have a party and all that.
Video.
Yes, sir?
On your video,
I'm
Where do
sorry,
we go?
say again?
What office do we go to, county? or
Oh,
state?
county, go to the county registrar, county. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Well, you should feel confident now. At least you're warned. You know, at least you're forewarned, and you can listen to Agenda 21 radio. It's on for the next 40 minutes. 14:10 a.m. And let's see what else. Oh, also full coverage tomorrow, starting at 5 a.m. Red State Talk Radio. I'll be on live out of Philadelphia, and of course the Philadelphia thing that happened here last night, or tonight actually. So, are you here for a reason, sir? All right. Here you go.